Hello there, it's the start of another week. Welcome to The Pulse. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We're on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air. You can catch us live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. We are JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, President Kufuor appoints Seydou Idrisu as Acting Deputy Commissioner for the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, as he gives clear indications he will not renew contract of embattled Commissioner General Colonel Damwa retired. We have excerpts of that letter from the presidency, plus some reactions to this latest development. Also, former President John Dramani Mahama launches yet another scathing attack on the Chief Justice, Enemi Aboasi, calls for a new leadership to restore what he describes as the badly damaged image of Ghana's judicial system. We reassess and re-examine the claims of the former president shortly.
Therefore, the urgent need for the Ghanaian judiciary to work to win the trust and confidence of the citizenry. Unfortunately, we have no hope that the current leadership of our judiciary can lead such a process of change.
I'll tell you about my guest shortly. And a call for heightened security. The plea from the Ghana Wildlife Society as Ghanaians struggle to come to terms with a horrific attack on an intruder who died after sustaining injuries from one of the lions being kept at the Accra Zoo.
CCTV definitely is something that we welcome if we have the funds. Also, increasing the number of staff patrolling the area.
We have the latest for you. This is The Pulse, brought to you by Global Communities Digni Lu Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember, this afternoon, we're also streaming live on YouTube, and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. Thanks for choosing us, and blessed Sogah. Please stay for details. And we start off from the Jubilee House. President Kufuor is giving indications that he may not renew the contract of embattled Commissioner of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Colonel retired Kojo Damwa. The decision comes in the wake of a confrontation between the ex-military man and the Office of the Special Prosecutor over alleged rot at the Tema Harbour. JoyNews has excerpts of the letter dated Friday, August 26, 2022, and addressed to the Colonel by Nana Asante Bedietu, who happens to be the Executive Secretary to the President. So let's bring you excerpts of that letter as we have it. First of all, indicating that following the expiration of your contract of service as Commissioner, that's for the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, on the 13th of October 2021, the President of the Republic has directed that effective Friday, the 26th of August 2022, you hand over your duties and office to the Acting Deputy Commissioner, that's for the Preventive Service, Mr. Seydou Idrisu Issa, who will now act as the Commissioner for the Customs Division pending the President's substantive appointment. The President is actually thanking the ex-military man for his support in service to the state and is wishing Colonel Damwa well in his future endeavors. Well, there's a lot of reaction greeting this, but we do know that what's actually bringing about all of these decision has got to do with the recent confrontation that was witnessed between the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the former boss of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Although we are not able to tell at this point if indeed the final decision has got to do with the latest from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, we do know that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has been investigating a number of issues at the Ghana Revenue Authority, including the latest directive to freeze the auction of cars at the Tema Harbour and even beyond. The Office of the Special Prosecutor is also investigating some revisions and also matters that have got to do with the advanced customs ruling of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Earlier, the Importers and Exporters Association called for the heads of the institution, that's the Ghana Revenue Authority, not just the Customs Division, but all of the heads there. Joining me now is the Executive Secretary for the Importers and Exporters Association, Samson Asakia Wingobit. At least part of your demands have been granted by the President. Well, the President is not giving clear indications that this is a dismissal. It's just the case that the contract of Colonel Damwa will not be renewed. Are you satisfied by the latest development from the Presidency?
MTN is my WhatsApp number. Yes. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Samson Awingobet, I'm just asking if you are delighted by the latest, decision we're getting from the presidency on this.
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, and then good afternoon to your viewers. I must say that the Import and Export Association have just received this news. We've just seen the letter from the presidency. But one will ask that a president that is a respected lawyer of by all standards in this country would, if you look at the report, it stated categorically that commissioner expiring date was later the appointment got expired I think 13th of October 2021, but yet it was still in the office.
Samson Asaki Awingobet, what's the point you're driving at now?
Yes, because I would one will ask why is that the case? Why would someone appointment expired and he was still at post for almost 1 year in the office, and not just him. I'm sure the Commissioner General too appointment has also expired around the same October thereabout. That they are all still in post. So I don't see this to be firing. I see this to be the person is just asked to proceed on leave because if the appointment is expired and then you were not given the opportunity, then it's getting that okay, proceed on leave. But the point is, why would you allow somebody to be in office for the whole 1 year without any appointment? I think the government will also have to sit up. This is not, I won't say this is sad news, or I won't say this comes to us as a surprise, but I can only say that I don't know, because of the issues by the investigation conducted by the President Prosecutor, would someone have said, would we have known that Konadu office appointment expired on the 30th of October since last year, 2021. We are in 29th August 2021. So, this is a government that thought in respect of the rule of law and everything, and then you have officers in office without appointment.
Interesting questions you're putting out there. But for now, I would want to thank you for your time. That's Samson Asaki Awingobet, Executive Secretary for the Importers and Exporters Association. On now to the judiciary. Ghana's judiciary has, quote, a broken image. That's the opinion of former President John Mahama as he launches yet another scathing attack on the Chief Justice in Agyemang. The Judicial Service, especially justices of the Supreme Court, have attracted a lot of backlash from the main opposition NDC after the apex courts dismissed their petition challenging the electoral victory of President Kufuor in the 2020 elections. Following that and the growing calls, of course, the Chief Justice engaged the National Security Minister some months ago where there were warnings that the continuous bias rulings by some justices and judges within the judicial system is a threat to national security. Here's a recap of that report for you.
Global situation where threats are manifold and diverse. This is a critical intervention that will make all of us sleep a little better at night. I wish to take this opportunity to once again commend the Minister and the leadership of the National Security Ministry for their vision and patriotism in making this possible. Of course, the ministry alone cannot be entirely responsible for the implementation of this document. An integrated policy requires an integrated approach. In the light of this, the ministry is today seeking to engage the judiciary as necessary partners for the successful implementation of the policy. As the guardians of law and justice in our country, I believe this is the only right, and it is only right and proper that we are fully engaged in this process. Indeed, the ministry has previously engaged the Judicial Council and today represents another step in this journey of continuous engagement in the collective service of our motherland. Mr. Minister, I assure you the judiciary will play its role as imposed on us by the Constitution. Colleagues, I do not think that I need to remind you of the critical role we play in the national security infrastructure. While the threats are in a state of constant evolution, One thing remains constant, and that is the fact that the law is one of the major tools that we have to use to combat them. The decisions that are taken by national security officials must be done in the light of what is lawful, and where there are conflicts between the rights of individuals and the security of the state, it is the courtroom that those tensions will be resolved. This is why this interaction is absolutely essential. I wish to urge you, therefore, to commit to this process wholeheartedly and to engage frankly and enthusiastically with officials from the national security. I wish to assure the minister and his team that we recognize that our partnership is of key significance to our collective survival, and we will work very closely with them to ensure the success of this new integrated national security strategy.
Well, so that was the Chief Justice then. In spite of that assurance from the Chief Justice, President John Agyekum Kufuor believes that the image of the court has been broken. He further stressed the need for the judiciary to work to win the trust of the citizenry and erase the widely held perception of hostility and politics in legal proceedings.
Recently, so badly has the image of our judiciary deteriorated that many of our citizenry openly make mockery of our justice system and of our justices. The phrase, "go to court," is these days met with derisive laughter instead of hope that one will truly get justice if he went to the courts. If people are not poking fun about politics and inducements being used to sway the hand of justice in the lower courts, then it is poking fun and making statements about the 7-0 of the unanimous FC. Verdicts which mostly involve cases of a political nature in our Supreme Court. This is an unfortunate but serious development. One of the scariest existential threats to any democracy is when citizens think their judiciary holds no value for them or no use to them. And this is the security threat that the national security apparatus tried to draw the attention of the nation to recently, but was poorly received by the president and his party. We'll get to a stage where people will have no qualms about taking the law into their own hands because they do not have the confidence that they can get any justice from the system. There's therefore the urgent need for the Ghanaian judiciary to work to win the trust and confidence of the citizenry and erase the widely held perception of hostility and political bias in legal proceedings at the highest courts of the land. Unfortunately, we have no hope that the current leadership of our judiciary can lead such a process of change.
Former President John Agyekum Kufuor there. I want to bring in now Joseph Diok-Penka, former Deputy Attorney General, joining us on this conversation. Thank you, sir, for your time. In fact, John Mahama was mounted at that event. In fact, the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiru Nkitia, goes to point to how some quote-unquote NDC lawyers are being victimized and intimidated by the court. You share the same view?
Absolutely not. You see, my brother, I want to put this in perspective as I commence the discussion with you on this matter. You see, immediately you lose confidence in the judiciary or incite the public against the judiciary, the country is doomed to fail. That's my preliminary comment on this matter. I say this without a shadow of doubt because, yes, it is true that when anybody is aggrieved in the country, the person's source of justice is the judiciary. The last resort is the judiciary. And that if the judiciary cannot guarantee you justice, and an expeditious one at that, and one that will indeed soothe you and assure you that when you are in difficulty and you run there, you will get what the Constitution guarantees. If you don't have that type of judiciary, it will be unfortunate indeed. But I beg to differ clearly from His Excellency, the former president, that the conclusions he drew did not actually have any fundamental basis, because I expected him to cite instances where injustice was perpetuated by the judiciary. When you make an omnibus or general statement which is not backed by concrete evidence or statistics or facts, citing particular judgments or cases in which justice was subverted to substantiate your case, but rather just relying on general statement indicting the judiciary, that would be most unfortunate. Because remember that the unanimity he's talking about, if it did happen at all, was with respect to the election petition. And I have stated that I met one or two NDC lawyers, even when the petition was ongoing, and I stated to them that they had no case at all because what they had presented to the court was nothing, and you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. I stated this. And so if the justices on that occasion were unanimous, 7-0, 7-0, 7-0, what it also tells you is that your case was without merit, same died at the time it was conceived, and so it should not have gone to court in the first place. But you cannot use that as the basis to come to a general conclusion, therefore, that the image of the judiciary is dented by virtue of the fact that they gave a verdict of 7-0. First of all, this is not the first time the Supreme Court has delivered. If you go through the records, every day the Supreme Court delivers judgments. And in most of them, they are unanimous. You know, so if there is unanimity and you have a problem with the unanimity and you expected somebody to dissent, that may be your own problem. But if you are indicting them, indict them on the basis of the decision taking, but not on the basis of the unanimity. And if you are also making a pronouncement that indicts them, cite the specific case that they ought to be indicted for taking a 7-0 decision, when in fact it ought to have been a split decision or otherwise. When you are able to cite those specific circumstances to back your case, then you may be making a very strong case for yourself.
I guess that goes way beyond, and in fact, issues of justice goes way beyond just the judgments of the Supreme Court or any justice, you agree. For instance, take a look at the Central Kofi Akpafo Lolobi case, which we've had residents, of course, express some doubts about the willingness of the Chief Justice to look into that case. They've not had the opportunity to vote in the parliamentary race. Justice must be seen to be delivered. Why is that not happening for some of these residents? So if you have them come up, for instance, and question the judicial system, they are right, isn't it? And this is not just John Mahama doing that. So he has some grounds to say some Ghanaians do have issues with the judicial system, isn't it?
Well, if you're talking about Santrofi, Akpafo, Lolobi, etc., that's another issue that you are putting on the table.
But the point is, the former president was talking about the judicial system. I guess it's not fixated on the unanimous
but even
cases.
that one, you have decided to specifically cite that.
Right.
But in that, is there any pronouncement from the judiciary that you think is an indictment on the judiciary with respect to...
Yeah, but the case appears to have lingered on.
There's no pronouncement.
Yes, precisely. It's delayed. And looking at how sensitive it is, the belief is that at least the judicial system would have taken that matter seriously.
But you remember also that the same Supreme Court has decided already that anytime an issue of that nature is with respect to the creation of new constituency arises, then it must take effect from the next election. You are aware, aren't you? Stare decisis. Precedent guides us as far as our legal jurisprudence is concerned. So if the Supreme Court in one state had decided that in cases like that, then it should take effect from the next election, then you may have to go for them to review it, urge on them to review or depart from their own decision. Otherwise, if you are unable to persuade them to depart from their own decision, what the earlier decision has been binds them to it. So, but the general comment about the judiciary you've spoken about, it was not specific to the election petition. I agree. But then again, that is why I'm saying that he ought to have provided further and better particulars. 3, 4, 5 examples or 6 to buttress your case and say that on the basis of this, it is enough for us to conclude that there is no longer interest by people, or our own people do not longer have interest in getting justice from the court because they have been denied same by virtue of a number of examples that I have cited. If you do that, you give us an opportunity to critique it in a manner that will question whether or not what you raised is genuine. But if you make a general statement that there is no longer, I remember that there's even part of the speech that says that we need a new Chief Justice to restore.
Yeah, precisely. I was going to come there. He says he's lost faith in this current crop of leadership at the help of affairs within Ghana's judiciary.
And that is, again, unfortunate, because, again, he doesn't provide any shred of evidence to back that. You see, if we don't take care and we continue to bastardize the judiciary the way we continue to do, it may lead to contest another day. Because if tomorrow, in the unlikely event that he becomes president again, and then he decides that he's going to descend on the judiciary and etc., there will be conflict. And remember that judicial power is exercised all in conformity with Article 125 onwards, where it is vested in the judiciary and they are supposed to make a pronouncement, but they are guided by the Constitution and the fact that the citizenry ought to also participate in the dispensation of justice and etc. But I'm saying that looking at the caliber of person who was speaking, not an ordinary person. If it were any ordinary person, I'll give the person the benefit of the doubt. But once upon a time, number one gentleman of the land makes a categorical statement indicting the judiciary, it is most unfortunate. Remember that there are millions of Ghanaians who believe in him. There are millions of Ghanaians who trust in him. And when you make such a statement, it has the potential of inciting the populace against the judiciary. And when we reach that point of Armageddon, you may even want to recant whatever you said earlier, but it will be late in the day.
Well,
so
some security analysts,
caution.
Some security analysts connect this to the threat against the state. In fact, a reason for which some of them are suspecting that the National Security Minister brought together the judiciary just to express that sentiment to them. The fact that the judiciary appears to be biased in the face of, some key stakeholders, be it the main opposition National Democratic Congress. The National Security Minister does not belong to the NDC, yet he has concerns about their posture. Do you feel that this is the time we need to have more transparency within Ghana's judiciary and not necessarily have the justices cocoon themselves within the whatever provisions it is that the law is giving them immunity from?
First of all, let me throw back a fundamental question. If you put 7 justices to decide on an issue, and then their understanding of the law, all 7 of them agree with one another, is it not also within the ambit of the law? It is within the ambit of the law that 7 of them should agree. It is within the ambit of the law that some of them should dissent. And remember, recently, some of the judicial decisions, there were people who dissented. Even on the matter with respect to, I think it's central, the central region.
You mean the
Central.
Right.
Some of the justices dissented recently. I remember that Justice Nene Amegache and one other dissented in one of the latest decisions. There have been cases where people dissent. And there is nothing wrong if all justices agree with a process because their understanding of the law has coincided. Remember that even if you look at our past, if you look at our history, I always respect the case of Kufuor and Attorney General, and I also respect so much the case of the 31st December one, in which there was a challenge whether or not we should celebrate 31st December with resources. It was a split decision. All right? I think it was 5-4 or so. And we moved on from there because they had different orientations. If you read that judgment, they had different orientations. Now, if you come to me, for example, and let me just mention this. If you come to me and you want a declaration that I should nullify a particular result, then I ask you a question. From your own calculation, how many votes did you get? And you tell me that you didn't bring that to court. What do you expect? You expect a judge to dissent to that? Simple question. From your own calculation, how many votes did you get? I didn't bring it to court.
Yeah, but I guess in terms of, and you're taking us back to the presidential case, in that case, clearly the NDC was not very much dwelling on the figures. Their argument was no one had crossed the 50% threshold or the constitutional required figure.
That was a very mischievous argument.
Yeah, but that was their case before court. It wasn't about the figures.
Again, you see, if you come asking somebody to do the right thing, how do you capitalize on the person's wrong to say that they should make a declaration in your favor? You came, the lady, when she was making the announcement, she actually indicated in categorical terms that these were the total number of votes. And she segregated it to total number of valid votes and invalid votes. But in doing the calculation, she inadvertently lumped them and arrived at what she did, in which case the NDC's argument was right. But how do you let somebody do what is wrong and you want to right the wrong with the wrong? So, I mean, whatever they presented to the court was followed. So the declaration that was made was lawful.
At least the belief is that former President John Dramani Mahama, after the fallouts of that Supreme Court ruling last year, would have moved on. But he seems to have that conviction that there's something wrong within the judicial system. What do you suspect may be the problem of the former president?
Well, he may be privy to something that I don't know. But remember that he became president about 9 years ago, also on the score of winning a Supreme Court case. And some of the current justices who are on the bench were part of that. They were part of the system that made him president in 2009. That's also a statement of fact. You see, my fear, which I want to state, is that if care is not taken, statements like this can let people lose confidence in the judiciary. And at the end, the nation will suffer. Even foreigners who intend to come and invest, when they hear statements like this from no less a person than a former president, they may become scared and stay away because they may think that if they come in here and they have a problem and they go to the judiciary, they are not going to get justice. It can scare people. That's why I'm saying he would have done us a lot of good. If he had cited quite a number of cases and instances of conduct or acts of the judiciary, commission or omission, that he found to be such that if care is not taken, people will lose interest in the judiciary and take the law into their own hands.
This is where some experts say we need a mediator. Of course, the former office you occupied is quite sensitive. The office of the, Minister of Justice, constitutionally required to be advising government on some of these issues and also to be seen as the executive arm ensuring that there is justice within our country. What would you expect from the Attorney General in trying to just mend the faults and the concerns of the opposition party together with what concerns it is that they may be having with the court?
Well, first of all, there's also a limit to what the Attorney General can do. The limit is that there's no way the Attorney General can interfere in the judicial affairs of the state. Because as I indicated, judicial affairs of the state, as in Article 125 of our Constitution, justice emanates from the people and shall be administered in the name of the Republic by the judiciary, which shall be independent and subject only to this Constitution. So the Attorney General cannot interfere with justice. If he does, the law will take its own course against him. If the judiciary is subject only to the Constitution, it is not subject to any individual or group or organization or institution. So it is subject strictly only to the Constitution. And justice emanates from the people. So the Attorney General, if he finds certain things that may not be good enough in running the country in terms of law, his remedy may be to liaise with government to sponsor a bill in Parliament for it to be passed into law, to regulate things in a manner that will bring sanity and let us move on. But you cannot interfere in the judicial affair. But if you also find that the conduct of a justice has brought his office into a state of disrepute, you trigger the appropriate processes that will lead to the removal of the person if a prima facie case is established and a committee of inquiry set up finds the person culpable. So there are processes all over. But as he made that statement, you also know that every organization in this world There's no organization that is made up of only angels. There may be a few people who may act in a manner that may bring the judiciary into a state of disrepute, and etc. And most of them are made to suffer the penalty for it, dismissals and etc. I think that the former president, he has an opportunity to also use state institutions that will right the wrong where it is necessary.
Okay.
But criminal statements that you don't substantiate can lead to people actually losing interest in the judicial system.
Yeah, I guess the concern is not only stemming from the former president. General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, is also raising some concerns. He says, I mean, this goes beyond the bench. He talks about the bar, for instance, where he says, even lawyers who are perceived to be aligned to the NDC are not getting jobs these days. And your government has, of course, sort of found a way of intimidating all of these lawyers. I'm sure you've heard his comments as well.
That is perfectly incorrect. I totally disagree with him. You see, lawyers, we are the group of people whose regulations are very strict. We are not allowed to do what we call touting. You don't go on social media to pontificate what a good lawyer you are. You don't go on platforms to pontificate what a good lawyer you are. If you are a good lawyer, your acts in court will draw clients to you. So we don't do that. We call it touting. If you do it, you face the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council and all that. So if there are good lawyers in NDC, which I know there are, people will definitely hire their services. I also know some NDC lawyers who are very successful even in this regime. That is a statement of fact. So if there's a particular person who is not getting services, and it is just by virtue of the fact that he's NDC, that cannot be correct. Because remember also that there are businessmen, there are litigants, thousands of whom are NDC. Do those people take their cases to MPP lawyers? That's the other question you should ask yourself. I think no. And I know quite a number of lawyers, tens and perhaps hundreds of them, who are very successful and they are into buoyant practice, and they are NDC people. So again, that statement is not backed by any scientific evidence. And I haven't heard any MDC lawyer complain that he's not able to get services because he's NDC. I have not heard that. If you are a lawyer and do make such a complaint, it means that you are, excuse me to say, an incompetent person. If you are competent, clients will come to you and hire your services. It will not matter your political coloration.
Ordinarily, all of these comments coming on the back of that engagement would have been treated, well, with just a pinch of salt, at least knowing that it's just a normal political gathering. But this time round, we have NDC lawyers, and in fact, some of them former attorney generals joining in and listening to the former president. No dissent at all, and none of them have come out to say, well, we disagree with what our leadership is saying. So it appears that these are legal minds expressing that collective opinion through their leadership. I mean, that should be treated with some utmost concern, isn't it?
Well, they were actually professionals addressed by a politician.
Yeah, but now, lawyers, all lawyers.
That's what I'm saying. They were professionals addressed by a politician. Truth be told, there was no way anybody could stand up there to recant or say that what His Excellency, the former president, said was untrue. You know it. There was no way. Even if somebody will have a dissenting opinion, the person will keep it to himself or herself. No one will stand up there and speak to the former president and say that, look, for me, I'm very successful and MP. Nobody will say so. You know it, my brother. Practically, nobody will say so. So the fact that they remained silent does not mean that all of them endorsed what he said. Because I have been meeting them in court every day anyway. Very successful ones among them. I've been meeting them in court every day. They make their cases. Some of them do so well, and etc. So it is not the case that we've not been seeing them in court and they are not getting cases. If they say so, then there will be a flip of the coin to say that it may mean, therefore, that they were getting so many cases during the NDC. If they make that admission and say that when the MPP came, they are not getting, then, of course, they will also be making an endorsement to an illegality again, that when their party was in power, they were getting cases. When their party went into opposition, they are not getting cases. We shouldn't create that society at all. Any professional lawyer who is good and worth of his salt. When there is a change of government, the persons will still get a case to do because people will come to you and litigants know what they want. They want victory, they want good services. Whatever you are, whatever political coloration, if you are a good lawyer worth your salt, people will come to you, whether you are in government or in opposition.
In fact, I thought that would have been the last one, but we've not heard from you in a while. A lot has happened in the sector where you used to superintend. Of course, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has come under intense scrutiny following that, of course, first attempt to fight corruption, if we have to call it that way, by probing some issues at the Ghana Revenue Authority. We've seen the end game, the president directing, of course, the head of the Customs Division to relinquish his position. For you, is that testament of the fact that the president is indeed supportive of anti-graft agencies?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that while in office as Deputy Attorney General, I was privileged to superintend over the passage of a number of bills into law, some of which strengthened the fight against corruption. For example, the Whistleblowers Act, then we looked at the Governance Act, then we looked at the Witness Protection Bill, which also we passed into law, and we looked at the Companies Act, the New Companies Act, and several other legislation. I can tell you that not in the history of this country have we enacted anti-graft legislations that we did between the period 2017 and 2020, not in the history of this country. So all the beautiful laws which have been enacted by our parliament fight graft, all we need to do is to now have strong institutions and strong personalities to carry out these so that it will be done in a manner that will achieve the desired effect. Remember that you can have all these beautiful laws. If you don't have the people with the will and the wherewithal to carry these laws out in a manner that will affect society directly, they will just gather dust. And I think that the special prosecutor is one such person who is actually actualizing the law and making the law work and bite for us to have the benefit that we are supposed to actually reap. And we ought to give him thumbs up. However, everything he does is subject to law. And that is why the particular thing that has generated the furore with respect to the La Bianca matter, if you look at Section 12 of the Customs Act 2015, Act 891, for example, and then the discretionary power that are given to the customs boss to exercise when it comes to matters pertaining to the applications that were made, such as what La Bianca did. If we think as a people that it is being abused, we have to take it out of our law books. But so long as we allow it there, it will be exercised in conjunction with Article 296 of our Constitution, where discretionary power is vested in the person who is supposed to exercise it. So people with discretion will exercise it anyway, but it must fall squarely within the remits of Article 296 and the way it is couched. If it is outside that, it's unlawful. So if we think that the exercise of that power by the Commissioner General of SEPS, for example, is being abused over the period and ought to be checked, then Parliament will have to review that portion and take it out of the law. But so long as it remains there, it will be exercised.
The belief is the president is not acting in good faith, knowing that this is bad timing. Of course, the name and the reputation of the colonel retired is on the line. He's expressed that fear himself. And in fact, we've heard from former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu come out to say the reputation of these persons indicted in the report is on the line. And then we have the order from the president asking him to hand over. He may never have that opportunity to clear his name, you agree?
And challenge it. Whatever report the special prosecutor has is not sacrosanct. It is subject to judicial challenge. You can go to the High Court and challenge the findings. If it makes acts of criminality against you, and you can challenge it in a competent court. And if you so adduce evidence to that effect, it will be struck down, and it will even serve as a kind of star decisis or precedent for us to follow as a people. So the fight is not over. I have listened to all the parties in the matter. I've heard them in the media, and etc. I've read about the matter. And I think that the best way to go in this matter is for us to go to court for a proper application of that law, and we know the remits and the parameters within which that law operates.
Yeah, but you don't feel the president has not been fair. You don't feel the president has not been fair to Konadu Damwa. This is someone whose term had expired, yet the president held on for close to a year. So why not allow the dust to settle? So at least we know what it is that's going on there at the Ghana Revenue Authority. You're basically dismissing him before his time. Well,
I don't even think the word dismissal is accurate.
Okay, not renewing his contract, right?
Absolutely, because you see, to say he's dismissed means that he still has the mandate, his contract is still running, and then you terminate it.
Right.
This particular case, his contract has expired.
Yeah, but the timing is wrong, right?
I will not renew it. The timing, you see, what again is a discretion that His Excellency the President has exercised. And remember that he is the chief executive, and all of us who are appointees or persons who are appointees of peace ought to act in a manner that will meet his expectation, or he can exercise his discretion at any time to remove it, and he doesn't have to assign any reason. And in any case, in this particular case, he hasn't invited him. He hasn't said that on the basis of the ongoing investigations, I find that you are culpable, therefore you are removed. He hasn't said so. But I think the good colonel can go to court and fight the matter and get a judicial pronouncement that will put finality to this issue so that it will serve as a guide to future commissioners.
The OSP, vote of confidence from your side? You believe in him?
I said from the very day he was appointed, I was fortunately on your powerful forum. I was privileged to be part of Joy program when he was appointed, and I made categorical statements that he was a mate of mine in the first degree in DECO, and I knew him to be a very tough person, very principled, and very intelligent. And I said that I was not going to be surprised that he was going to chop successes and come out very strong, and he will make a very good case for the young generation. I said it, and I have not regretted. I know that he is going to meet a lot of challenges, but at the end, if he remains focused and is committed to his work, he will triumph, and his name will be written in gold many years after he has left that office.
Okay then, Joe, we have to leave it here. Thank you for your time.
I'm grateful, my brother.
On The Pulse. Well, talk about the NDC, the General Secretary of the party, has been speaking about some more internal developments. He's taking a swipe at Dr. Konadu Kufuor owing to his decision to storm the Ashanti region today with his Ahunta Project. Although the former finance minister says his campaign is targeted at empowering party grassroots financially, Johnson Asidu Nketia believes that the approach by Dr. Kufuor in carrying out that program is self-seeking. He explains why.
We just picked information from Kumasi that Dr. Kufuor is going to distribute some equipment to our constituencies under the Ahunta Project. And we feel very betrayed. Because, you see, it is not a bad thing if a former minister wants to support the party in any way. But there is a process that you go through. So we actually heard about this project for the first time when it was supposed to have been launched in Agyemang. So we felt that everything about the launching and the design of the project was problematic. So we invited Dr. Kufuor and his followers. And we sat down because we thought that we could resolve whatever was wrong with the project as it has been designed. So we all chart the same path and then make sure that we receive the donation and process the donation through our proper party channels of receiving donations. So we held series of meetings. And, thought that we had agreed on the procedure. And our procedure is that if you want to donate to NDC, after donating, you don't have a hand in how the donation will be used. In fact, he's not the first person to donate to this party. In previous years, Professor Mills donated vehicles to the party, and they were processed through the party structures. President Mahama has donated vehicles and other equipment to the party. Once you hand over to the party takes over. So their design was, after handing over, Then they will put together a project management to handle it. We disagreed strongly that our party's face cannot be used for any such thing. So we thought we had agreed. We went to do the launching and thought that after the launching, the next stage was for us to bring together our regional party executives so that we would then hand over to the regional party, and the regional party will also deal with the constituencies so that the project will be implemented in the mainstream party.
Well, JoyNews is getting indications that regardless of that concern, the program is going on. In fact, earlier today, I got in touch with the project manager of the Ahunta Project, Ahunta Project, who told me that the Ahunta Project will continue to run in spite of the concerns of the national leadership. He adds that all Dr. Kufuor is seeking is party welfare.
As a political party, you need a lot of resources when it comes to mobilizing the grassroots towards attaining your said objective, which is to win political power. And you have to do that. You need to put together your logistical support, your human resources, your financial support. Most political parties in Ghana really are constrained when it comes to how they finance their day-to-day activity. And so you need a certain vehicle to help propagate that agenda. And in time past, throwing cash at constituency offices, at executives to undertake the day-to-day activities of the party is becoming moribund. So there was the need for a new way in terms of party financing. Hence the Ahunta Project by the Ahunta Hene, Dr. Kufuor. So I'm saying that is to relieve the MPs, is to relieve the constituency executives of the already burdensome day-to-day struggle they have to go through to manage the party at the grassroots level. They need a certain kind of vehicle, a certain kind of support. And the Ahunta Project is to do that. And you realize that the model is a rental business facility, which is very, very easy to manage. If I say easy to manage, one, you do not need too much of technicalities to manage a rental facilities. And it is also a very good business in terms of the returns, because as you know, every weekend we have funerals, outdooring, political party engagement, rallies, mini rallies, and what have you. And most of these occasions are being undertaken in the open, outdoors. So we are giving this to the constituency, but through a management committee, independent of the constituency offices, because we want the constituency to concentrate on the core mandate, which is to mobilize the grassroots towards Agenda 2020 and beyond. So you wouldn't want them to conflict that agenda with the management of the facility. But the proceeds of that facility goes to the constituency office so that they can use it to manage the day-to-day activities of the party. That is the rationale behind the Ahunta Project. And the Ahunta Project itself is an NGO. I must state that. And Doctor decided that the NGO will undertake several projects, but the first of its kind must first of all go to the NDC grassroots. The party cannot take a decision for a leading member of the party who has already in the past continuously been supporting the cause of the NDC. And indeed, if we are talking about winning election, you need all kinds of support. Donation is separate from a project. If it is donation, Dr. Kufuor knows what to do, and he's been doing it in the past. This is a special project that he has instituted to support the grassroots of the party. Let's get the difference. We shouldn't confuse two issues here. And in any case, I mentioned to you, I have not cited any agreement to that effect. And if you had taken the chance to watch the video at the lunch at the party headquarters, clearly, there was no mention that the party is going to take custody of the Ahunta Project. Indeed, I was invited in the middle of Doctor's presentation that if you need the Ahunta's items, contact Abbas Usabuti. my good self, as the project manager, and it will be distributed at the constituency level. He said that at the lunch at the party headquarters. So we were taken aback. What we saw yesterday, we were taken aback. But the good news is that the constituencies are welcoming the project. They are receiving it. As I speak with you, we are on our way as a team to continue the process of distribution.
Well, that's the reaction from the Dufour team. You're still with us here on the JoyNews channel. This is The Pulse with me, Blessed Sogah. It's time now to look at some other issues. The Executive Director of the Ghana Wildlife Society, David Kpele, has proposed the beefing up of security, including installation of security cameras at the Accra Zoo to forestall the recurrence of yesterday's incident. Well, his call actually follows a statement by the Forestry Commission that a middle-aged man alleged to be an intruder had been killed by a lion at the Accra Zoo. According to the Commission, the deceased is suspected to have scaled the lion's cage in an attempt to steal a cub. Patrol guards, as we understand, later discovered the lifeless body of the alleged intruder lying by the lion in the cage. Well, earlier, my colleague Papani Ashale went back to the zoo to find out what the situation is. He tells us that the police have cordoned off the area as they continue with the investigations.
Recognized entrance into the entire forest, where the Achimota Zoo, or the Accra Zoo people also call, is also located here. So it's business as usual at the entrance, especially for people who come here for refuge, especially to pray. You can see this particular poster here, or this particular that says that the Echo Park Prayer Enclave. So this Achimota Forest also serves as an enclave for those who are hoping for some solitude, some quietness to pray to their deity. So the entrance here, you see people teeming here and queue, waiting their turn to pay. I understand that they have to pay to get access to the forest here. So that's what you have, people in queue, even vehicles getting entrance into the forest, many of whom I understand are going to pray here. But the zoo, I understand, is off limits, is not available to the public now. The Forestry Commission, what we hear from them is that per the notice that they've gotten from the police, the place has to be cordoned off for police investigations to commence as soon as possible. Again, what we know is that the identity of the gentleman involved, the victim, is yet to also be unraveled as it stands now. So again, a lot more people here, some of whom even are renting chairs. I get renting chairs to help them with their prayer sessions at the place here. They have to pay a token and get a cheat, then they are allowed. So that should give you a sense of the protocol again when you are getting access into the forest and again to the zoo. So you need first to go through this process of taking a cheat, then you go to the zoo. Daddy, what is that here to do? You are going to the zoo? You are coming to?
We are coming to pray.
You are coming to pray. Yeah. But yesterday we heard that there was a lion, or there was a gentleman that is managed to get into the lion's den and has been devoured. You are not concerned?
Yeah, I'm really concerned, but where the zoo is far away from where the prayer comes in.
Yeah. But I mean, you should be. Why not?
I've been here for so many years, so I can say this is the first time that this has happened. So we are not afraid of it because, as I said, the zoo is far away from here, from where we are praying, so we are not afraid.
Why is praying in the Achimota Forest so important to you?
Oh, but you can pray anywhere, in your room, wherever, but it's a gathering. We have pastors that, I'm a pastor also, so I have my senior pastor that so many people used to come here. There's no difference from praying Achimota Forest and in your house or in your churches. Just that it has been a norm since some years ago, so that's why we are coming to.
What if we said that, well, for today, nobody should get access to the zoo, the forest, because of incidents like where people could just get into places that we don't expect them to be?
Nothing will happen, because in the COVID era, we stayed at home for almost 2 years without coming here. So we will pray in our churches and in our homes.
What's your name?
My name is Budisam. Budu Sam.
Okay, sure. Sam, thank you very much. And all the best with your prayers here. So, Budu Sam is one of many people that are still coming to the Achimota forest. Although news like this are quite strange, bizarre, and odd, but also prefer to pray at the forest.
Excerpts of the report by my colleague Michael Niashali earlier today. There are calls for security to be beefed up at the area. Eric Lortie, co-director of Friends of the Earth Ghana, and also former executive director for the Ghana Wildlife Society, joining us via Zoom now. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. I don't really recall this happening in recent history, but how often do we see such unfortunate incidents occur? Kindly unmute for me, Eric, so we can hear you. I was just asking earlier about the fact that I don't recall this happening in recent history, but how often do we see such incidents happen? It appears we're having some challenges connecting to Eric. We'll try as much as possible to do that. But earlier, the Ghana Wildlife Society also requested that security be beefed up at the area. We can now take a listen to the executive director for the Ghana Wildlife Society. And you're welcome back to the polls. Apologies there for the hiccup in connecting with Eric Lortie. We'll do that shortly, but we know that the Ghana Wildlife Society is asking for security to be beefed up at the Accra Zoo. We can now listen to the executive director for the society.
We took time to inspect and to put in the fence and to make sure that the lions are secure. And when people are coming to be conducted around, for security, we shouldn't be afraid and take this single incident as a sign of insecurity. We want to assure the general public that the zoo is a secure place. The fence that have been put around are okay. It's abnormal for a lion or to want to break the fence and come out. So we want to assure the general public that the zoo is secure. This is just a single one-off incident that we don't think that should let people think that the place is insecure. No.
Do you think something more should be done to improve security and safety? For example, people are asking, do we have CCTV cameras around that could help us even identify what really happened? So to you, what else do you think can be done to improve security and safety at the facility?
Obviously, the use of technology will improve the situation. CCTV definitely is something that we welcome if we have the funds. Also, increasing the number of staff patrolling the area will also be something that we can consider. So yes, all those are measures that we need to enhance in order to enhance the security. But for now, we want to say that this is just a single incident that we need to just, we will look at the issues and then see how best we can help the Wildlife Division to improve upon the security.
Well, that's the position of the Ghana Wildlife Society on that. Eric Lortie is the co-director of Friends of the Earth and also a former executive director for the Ghana Wildlife Society. He'll be joining us shortly to share his concerns with us. Eric is back on with us. Let's try and see if the connections will be much more favorable this time around. Eric, if you are on with us, I was just indicating that I don't recall this happening in recent history, but how often do we see such unfortunate incidents occur, if not in Accra, elsewhere?
Yes. I'm
with you, Eric.
I want to use this opportunity to extend my greetings to your viewers. Yes, the incident that happened yesterday actually seldomly happen in Ghana, in our zoos in Ghana, be it Accra or Kumasi. But in other parts of the world, I think what immediately comes to mind is what happened in 2021 in Florida. There is a zoo it's called the Nickel Zoo, where a young man, a 20-year-old young man, tried to feed a tiger in its enclosure, and it got pulled, into the enclosure. It was shot there and then. So it's occasionally happens all around the world. So this is not a new phenomenon.
Yeah, at least you're pointing out that in our case, we've not had this in a long time. But we do know that investigations are definitely underway. Even before that process is exhausted, of course, there are some flaws that some experts are pointing to. Do you also have a feeling that there were some breaches in the standard procedures for keeping the zoo safe?
I will not be tempted to prejudice what the task that has been set up for the investigators. But you see, I read a press statement that was put out yesterday by the Forestry Commission. I would have thought that the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources would have actually spearheaded the process, commission investigation. I'm not against the fact that the police has been asked to step in swiftly, but this is zoo management is a specialized area. I would have expected not just the police, but a panel which will be a constellation of people who have expert knowledge in zoo management, because zoos all over the world, zoos are highly regulated. So there are standards that regulators are, or the zoo authorities are expected to follow. So as to whether those standards or those protocols were followed, it will be very difficult to say now. So I am thinking that, if the police will have the expertise to do this, that will be it. But I think the public will be expecting to a very open and a transparent investigation into this matter, since it involved a loss of somebody's life.
Yeah, indeed. And I'm glad that you're touching on the issue of transparency, because help me with this. The general impression we all have is that when, for instance, you bring in such carnivores and lions and wild, animals, you bring them from the wild, you often tame them or put them under some level of control. Is that notion correct? Or you just keep them in the zoos as you found them? Is that what happens?
Well, this notion is very erroneous, because you cannot, in a modern zoo, even authorities are encouraged to create conditions that mimic that of the natural environment, or that's conditions that exist in the wild. So it would be very ridiculous for somebody to tell me the animals that, have been put in those enclosures must be tamed, because they are, we try as much as possible to mimic the conditions in the natural environment in the zoo. But zoos are actually set out for a purpose. So one is to create entertainment or promote tourism, because kids in Accra will scarcely find those animals that are kept in the zoo, scarcely find them in Accra unless they travel elsewhere, like Moli National Park, to see an elephant, or to see those rare animals normally not found in the cities. So zoos are set up to bring the animals closer for education purposes, to promote tourism, and also for scientific purposes, because some of the enclosures, animals are kept for research, to study their breeding patterns, how they feed or forage. It could be a lot more. So that's the essence of setting up these zoos.
So it's not as though they are friendly.
Sorry, can you say that again?
It's not as though they are friendly.
No, they are not expected to be friendly, because they are wild animals. Yes, which has been brought, enclosed.
Right.
For a specific purpose.
Okay, then. A couple of months
once
back,
they've been brought into those enclosures, it doesn't mean they become domesticated.
Right. But a couple of months back, of course, we all saw that viral footage of some lions being kept at the Accra Zoo. The fact that they are growing lean, depicting arguably some sort of suggestion that they are not being fed well. Giving that account and the viral footage that has gone around, is it wrong to conclude that, well, if you had fed the lions well, they may not have attacked this individual at the center of this unfortunate incident?
Yes, there may be several factors that may push a lion to attack or devour somebody. It may not necessarily mean the lion should be hungry before it attacks its prey, because human beings are one of the preys of tigers and lions. So it may be wounded, or it may be protecting its calf in the enclosure. So the fact that the animal has been fed well doesn't mean that it won't attack its prey. When it's provoked, or when you hurl stones at it, it will by all means come at you. So they may be wrong in making that assertion that they are not being fed well, because keeping those animals in zoos is a very expensive enterprise. So it demands a high level of expertise. It demands a huge budget. Imagine bringing lions into the Accra Zoo. You need to feed them with the right balance of nutrition from time to time. So it's no joke. So it might be true that the lions are not being fed well, but I cannot conclude on that assertion, but it may be true.
For now, we at least know that, of course, many persons will be shying away from patronizing the zoo, particularly the one in Accra. What steps for you should be taking to reassure patrons that when you go there, you'll be safe?
Yes, I think the public must be sensitized and educated very well. I don't know whether they where inscriptions, prohibitory or warning inscriptions, the right warning inscriptions have been placed at the right places in the zoo. But the zoos are supposed to have places well labeled, ensuring that visitors know the rules, the do's and don'ts within the zoo. I was citing a situation where somebody mistakenly, it wasn't a pet zoo, it was a typical zoo, a normal, the regular zoo. So the person attempted feeding the tiger, and it was dragged into the enclosure until the animal was shot, and they set the victim free. So it is important that the zoo authorities of the Ghana Wildlife Division educate the public very well. But I think yesterday's incidents will also serve a warning to the general public to adhere to the rules pertaining to visits to the zoo.
And I mean, the area itself, is it premature to start asking for the relocation of the zoo? Will it be far-fetched? Because this is an area where we know a lot of people go there to pray and for other religious purposes. Is this the time to just consider that move, to move them away from where they are now?
I would disagree. I would disagree to any person who comes with that suggestion, because in many parts of the world, in very big zoos in South Africa, in the United States, most of these zoos are in the center of the cities. I think I briefed you on the key reasons why zoos are set up. So you can't go and set up a zoo far away, because it's the purpose of bringing it to the city is to bring nature close to the people in the city. So in those areas, the zoos or the enclosures have been managed effectively without any accidents. So I think the proper thing to do is to ensure that security measures are put in place, or the right measures are put in place to keep the animals where they are, or to fend off visitors who visit these zoos. So I think it will be early days here to call for relocation of the Accra Zoo. I think it is serving a good purpose being located in the city.
And finally, for the authorities?
Yes, I think I will add my voice to the suggestion by the Executive Director of the Ghana Wildlife Society, because generally the government allocates.
Well, looks like we've lost Eric one more time, but this point is well made.
So
thank you.
If a very scanty budget has
Eric,
been allocated to the management.
Okay, looks like we've lost Eric. We'll definitely reconnect sometime again. Eric Lortie, co-chair of the Friends of the Earth, joining us there and sharing his views with us on the JoyNews channel. The Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development is also in the news. The ministry is assuring that it will continue to roll out some measures to help deal with depleting fish stock here in Ghana. The European Union Commission is leading the fight against illegal and reported and unregulated fishing worldwide. About 2 years ago, of course, issued a warning indicating that there's a yellow card to Ghana, that it is at risk of being identified as a non-cooperating country in the fight against illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. The shortcomings that earned Ghana the yellow card included illegal transshipment at the sea of large quantities of undersea juvenile pelagic species. In our latest Hotline documentary titled When the Last Fish is Caught, Richard Kojo investigates how Ghana is dealing with this issue.
It's a chain work. We brought this bycatch from Marie. It's not frozen, just fresh. But the moment we brought it at ashore, it gets to rot. So we peel today. Those who will throw it away, the vessel owners, then they start freezing it to us. And this have created a lot of employment. Rather throwing it into the sea as waste or to pollute the sea. That's why it has created, we have brought it and it has created a lot of job. And cycle is not purposely for Elmines. It's for the whole Ghana.
Justice Pry used to be in the cycle business. He sits on one of the canoes here at the landing bay at Elmina. Many thoughts about the collapsed cycle business flash his mind. The 54-year-old doesn't understand why his trade has been banned.
So unexpected, we have been bound not to go. So all these fish are being thrown into the sea, make so many people jobless. And for as time as today, about 10 months now, in fact, people are suffering.
Even though the Ministry of Fisheries has banned cycle, the illegal transshipment of fish at sea, the fisherfolk continue to agitate.
The fisherfolk say that the cycle has not really ended, even though they agree with the ministry that it's ended at the places, the cycle markets, but it has manifested in a different form. If you go to Tema, they say that they are landing the small pelagic that artisanal fishers are supposed to catch. And this to them is like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
At first, we believed that the Chinese relied on the larger fish, but today they compete with us for the smaller fish that we rely on.
Ifua Frama is a fishmonger here at Abazi, one of the fishing communities in the central region. She recounts vividly how the trawlers continue to land the fish that were once caught by the artisanal fishers. President of the Canoe and Gear Owners Association of Ghana, Nana Kweja, raises a similar concern about the cycle ban.
It has taken us so many years advocating for the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development and the Fisheries Commission to enforce the law and stop the illegal transshipment at sea.
Even though he's been full of praise for the minister over the sanity she's brought to the sector, the landings at the Tema Port continue to worry him.
And of course, be on the lookout for the Hotline documentary later tonight. The Kumasi Traditional Council has granted permission to management of Oyiripa FM to resume operations. This comes after the radio station actually shut down for close to 4 days to show remorse for allowing Akwesi Odai Odike of one of the political parties to use their platform to allegedly attack the traditional authority. Management of the radio station beseeched the Esokore Mampong, Hini Nana Boachi and Sir Deborah to lead the team for the second appearance before the Traditional Council at the Menja Palace. Bantama Hini, who chairs the Kumasi Traditional Council, says the plea will be forwarded to the Asante Hini.
Enti eja munkoye mojuma na yewraba de sebia ebebona na enimse odum to so enti yesramu munkoye no de yaka kyeremu de na nanu ka kyeremu nyina no mfanya adwuma na abibia ensi akyrebio yenimse oyirpa sa asem we bi ensi bio we be last time. Internal Damuina Amasi, Madra Machel, Alpha Semi, Ama Asumiama.
So, what transpired? The whole idea is that Oyiripa people came to see us to plead on their behalf. What happened in respect of what was said at the studio? We came in humility to plead with our Santemine to pardon them, to forgive. And thanks be to God, they have accepted our our request. So they've asked them to go back and work. But they have also advised them. And then the advice is not only limited to them, but to all the press houses, that we need to take context into consideration. You don't just allow people to come in and say whatever they want to say. As moderators, ensure that people do not implicate you in terms of what they say in your stations. I share that with them, and I think it is a very good thing that the press should take into consideration. Thank you.
And of course, we'll keep our eyes on that development and bring you some more updates. But for now, education, inclusive one, has been identified as one of the crucial tools in empowering current and future generations to transform the world. To this end, the latest report from UNESCO has outlined the new social contract for education, focusing on redefining the future to ensure inclusive participation and the criticality of global solidarity and cooperation. There's more in the following report.
Planning and Administration at the University of Cape Coast and the Asia Pacific Center of Education for International Understanding partnered to build the capacity of educational planners, leaders and administrators, particularly the West African sub-region. Dr. Michael Boachi-Yadom is Director of IEPA at the University of Cape Coast. He explains the importance of this collaboration.
Global citizenship education promotes educational leadership. It promotes quality educational leadership within our school system. Now the world is changing. The world many years ago, has been described as a global village. So we are committed to developing graduates from educational institutions who can think globally, but can also engage locally. And that is what global citizenship is talking about. How do we come together as different people from different parts of the world, come together as one people, come together to support humanity, come together to share our ideals, our differences and our similarities for the benefit of humanity.
The Asia Pacific Center of Education for International Understanding is committed to promoting education. The objective is to equip learners with knowledge, behavior, and skills as active citizens that can contribute positively to a more peaceful, just, and sustainable society. Dr. Yoon Mok Lim is director of the Asia Pacific Center of Education.
Global citizenship education, I think, is about countering exclusive nationalism. You see, in this pandemic crisis, exclusive nationalism, vaccine nationalism is very harmful. So we need to counter this harmful trend. So global citizenship education is very important because it helps us to fight against exclusive nationalism, discrimination.
This is expected to further enhance the capacity of leaders in global citizenship education, which will contribute to realizing the desired future goal.
And a newly built health facility named Liata Hospital at Carpenter community in the Bolibamboy district of the Savannah region has been commissioned with the aim of reducing maternal and infant mortalities in over 80 villages across the region. The 100-bed hospital project, spearheaded by Dr. David Mensah, a native of the district with support from the international partners, is amongst other things to bring healthcare delivery closer to the people. The locals used to travel several kilometers to the district capital to seek healthcare. And Sabit has the rest of the story.
With the goal of reducing mother and infant mortalities in over 80 villages in the northern part of the country, the Liata Hospital project was conceived. The project, which was only a dream in the year 1972, is today a reality 50 years down the lane. Dr. David Mensah, who is a Natibalakala, the Jasihene of the more traditional council, is the brain behind this project.
This is a dream come true, and it is a very happy occasion for me because I have a memory of the past. My father developed a hernia, and it became a strangulated hernia, and my father died as a result of it. My sister, Abena Kara, died when she wanted to deliver her child. This hospital, I have named it Liata in our language, meaning rescue us. If this hospital was here, perhaps my father would not have died for me to suffer so much. My sister would have been alive today.
The state-of-the-art pro-poor Liata Model Hospital, situated at Carpenter, a community along the Bamboiwa Highway, was founded by the Northern Empowerment Association and the Ghana Rural Integrated Development with support from international partners. Dr. Mensah used the opportunity to thank the people who played key roles in raising the funds to make this dream a reality.
I am so thrilled that many people have stood with me to work for this thing to come to pass. In fact, I want to thank you all.
Dr. Jennifer Wilson is the Director of International Partnership and Canadian Consultant for Family and Emergency Medicine at the Liata Hospital. She noted that the facility is here to help save the number of people, particularly women, who lose their lives due to the absence of a facility to provide them with care.
It was 15 years ago that you chiefs and queen mothers welcomed us with open arms into your villages. While we were in your villages, we saw with our eyes and we heard with our ears how your people have suffered. You told us of the women who died in childbirth and of the children who were lost to infectious diseases. Today, that dream that you, the sons and daughters of this land, are standing on your own is come true.
Member of Parliament for Bole Bamboy constituency, Alhaji Suleimana Yusuf Ori, couldn't hide his joy as the 100-bed capacity hospital would complement quality healthcare delivery of the area.
What we are seeing today is the clamors of their intervention in the area of health. A very magnificent, beautiful, one in town, 100-bed hospital for my community. I am indeed proud that as a member of parliament for this area, one of the things that has happened during my reign is this beautiful project.
Deputy Minister for Health and Member of Parliament for the Boya Mankarigu constituency, Alhaji Asei Seni, on his part, acknowledged that the project will bring enormous benefits to the people of the area and the country as a whole.
Undoubtedly, this project will bring enormous benefits to the people of Kapenta and Ghana as a whole. This project brings me joy as it's one of the most important and bold strides taken to bridge healthcare infrastructure between the southern and northern belts of the country.
And I'd sub it there with some updates from the north. Back home, more students kicking against the decision of the management of the Konadu University of Science and Technology to abolish the junior common room system. Well, this means that all universities will no longer be electing students as executives from the 2023-2024 academic year to manage whole activities. The abolishment comes and follows actually that chaos that erupted between some students of the University Hall, Katanga, and Unity Hall, Continental as they are known, during the Katanga Hall Week activities. The decision is meeting that high displeasure of student groups, including NUCs, who are threatening to take some actions if management does not reverse the decision. Well, another group is joining. That's the University Students Association of Ghana. Christian Intifu Anderson is president of the group, joins us via Zoom now. Christian, we understand that a press conference happened a couple of hours ago. What's some of the concerns you're adding to that of NUCs?
All right, so thank you very much for having me today. As part of our concerns that we're raising as university students of Ghana, we are saying that fine, the university management has every right to take some of these decisions because the processes have gone through up to the council level. But we are also saying that in as much as our students have erred in such a serious manner, and then in as much as there's been several opportunities for us to redeem ourselves, you do not take away some opportunities from students because a section of the entire student populace has gone on to do something that is bad or harming the image of the university. Now we are saying that the number of students who involve themselves in these activities are very negligible compared to the number of students who do not involve themselves and who have contributed meaningfully to the good name of the university. So we are only asking that as much as we know we have erred and we are pleading as University Students Association of Ghana for the university management to accept our apologies for our excesses, we are also asking that they should consider reviewing the decision that has been taken by the university management. And we are willing to work out a blueprint that would allow us to find a lasting solution to this problem. Again, JCR executives usually have little to no role in these instances where you have rioting happening as a result of the clashes that we see between the halls. I have been a JCR executive before, and then in this particular instance of what happened, you can tell from our interactions that the JCR executives even warned the university management of an impending alleged disturbance. And then the university management would not take precautionary measures to curb the situation. And so if the management as a whole could not find a solution to this problem, we feel it is too harsh for them to push the blame onto the JCR, knowing very well that JCR has little to no role in some of these riots that happen on campus.
Well, it's not as though if we don't have the JCR system, the universities will not run. Except that there won't be any executives. So what's the big deal anyway?
Yes, so first of all, as part of the university's bid to train students for the outside world and for world and for nation building, they go on to allow us to have these leadership roles to teach us some managerial skills that will better us when we come out of the university. And so students in this instance, in the first place, are being deprived of such a huge opportunity. Then again, if you have a section of students who are rioting and you do not have any particular person in charge, now what will happen is the new batch of students that will come will listen to any faceless individual who is able to put them together and incite them to go out there and cause havoc. What we are suggesting is that we know that within our hall system, aside the JCR, we have for these formerly bail halls and for these bail halls, we have the traditional council system. Now the university should look at officially recognizing them, acknowledging that these councils do exist. And now when we know they exist, we put them up officially to be held responsible for whatever excesses happen in some of their activities. So if you know you cannot control your students, you do not bring them out in the first instance. Again, we are suggesting that they should institutionalize the alumni system within the hall. So if there's an office space for an alumnus who is representing the entire body, anybody who is entering the hall for any activity on the account of being an alumnus should be able to pass through this office before getting access to students. And if we find anyone there acting as an alumnus and infiltrating the hall without having the necessary go ahead from the alumni body, this person should be seen as a persona non grata, and then the laws of the country should deal with such a person. So when you do not put a face to a group of students, you give them the chance to cause worse rioting. And we feel this is not going to help the university community.
Okay, at least we know this is a specific decision relating to KNUST. If the management fails to back down, what are we to see from the student front?
Yeah, so we are not going to threaten any action because already we are at fault and we are looking to have management sit down with us. But over our interactions with the university management, we know that they are in there as parents for university students. I do not think they fancy meting out such harsh punitive measures. And so we are hoping, just hoping that they will listen to us as parents, and then we can sit down and find lasting solution to the problem, and then we can have the peace that we need to project our university system outside Ghana.
Good luck on your endeavors. Let's see what it is that management of KNUST will do. But for now, Anderson, thank you for your time. It's been an amazing 5-day period of big sales and big discounts. And for our patrons and exhibitors at the 2022 EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair, which actually left many calling for more. In fact, speaking at a seminar to climax the event, head of Advantage Banking at EcoBank, Winston Wobble, says whether a mortgage or, funding of your housing project this time round, you need to do that. In fact, it will cost you less. And of course, Maxwell Agbagba has been on that bit. He has more clarity to the story.
It has been 5 days of excitement, discounts, affordability, innovation, and more here at the foyer of the Accra International Conference Center. We transformed the structure into a one-stop shop for everything housing. Our exhibitors are happy, our patrons are equally happy. The EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair truly lived up to expectation as a one-stop shop for everything housing. Some patrons who had no idea of how to get their dream of owning a home off the ground left with a clear plan on what they want to do. For some of our patrons, they want the event more than once a year.
Very excited. That's what I'm saying. Everything that you need instead of roaming in town and burning fuel that is difficult to get these days, then it's better you come here, and everything you need about a home, you can find it here.
For me as well, and I'm currently not around. I just came in. It is an option for me because it gives you that flexibility.
Good. It's good. I mean, you can't go wrong with multimedia organizing. The Habitat Fair has been good.
over the years, so it's good. I mean, it's good. Yeah.
I'm very, very pleased with what I see. Yeah, I've even seen something I never expected to see. A prize here that I wasn't expected to see.
Our exhibitors are particularly happy about the opportunity provided them to connect with patrons. They say they want it again, and again. The testimonies from our exhibitors are unending.
We anticipate to participate in the other ones that may be coming up. Security officer called us. She's interested in the product. She's suffering, the structure is suffering from dampness. And hearing the information, the interview I granted on Joy Prime and JoyNews, she called me and she said anytime she gets to Accra, she will get in touch with Boko. And some call from Takrady with the same problem. Yes, so they want new Mafis to come to Takrady. Some call from Yeji. Some call from Yeji. So out of the interview granted, we are getting the calls.
Marketing manager for Lakeside Estate, Isaac Ntiamwa, says there was never a dull moment at the fair.
And for this year, the patronage has been good so far, from Wednesday all the way to Sunday, even though there's been a little rains. But for now, with our records, we already having people going to the site already for viewing. In terms of numbers, it's been great. It's been great from the Wednesday. I mean, this is the first time ever I've experienced Habitat Fair for the first time, Wednesday being a very hot day. Having people coming all the way from their offices.
The EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair is not just an assembly of leading players in the housing industry. It has also become a big learning platform for university students. Here are some of them from the Department of Interior Design and Upholstery Technology at the Accra Technical University.
The fair is basically about what we do in the classroom. But in the class, we do only theory things. So we brought them here to look at what practically goes on.
For the first time, I've come out to see things related to my course, interior design, and it's so impressive.
Speaking at a seminar to climax the 13th edition of the 2022 EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair, head of Advantage Banking at EcoBank Ghana, Winston Wobbles, said it is possible to own a home in this period of worsening economic conditions.
So if you ask to take a mortgage or to buy your own piece of land and then start something small, the advice is, if you can afford a mortgage, you are better off taking it up front. And we know, as it's been said, exchange rates are going up. Fortunately or unfortunately, you have a lot of our developers pricing in dollars. And then cost of goods and services are also rising. So you are better off taking a mortgage now, knowing that the value of the property you have acquired is X amount, and then you are paying interest on it, than to wait a year later. Only God knows. We pray it doesn't happen, but only God knows what could happen, say, in the next 6 months or even in the next few days.
And of course, if you missed the opportunity, well, it will present itself again. That's Maxwell Agbagba with a wrap of the EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair. You can check out more pictures and more opportunities even online at myjoyonline.com. I am Blessed Sogah. We'll see you again tomorrow. Next.